Neanche più ti lega a questi luoghi, neanche questi fiori azzurri. Via, via, neanche questo tempo grigio, pieno di musiche e di uomini che ti sono piaciuti. It's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. Come like my baby, it's wonderful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. I dream of you. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
È evidente che Dio non ha conosciuto la Puglia, altrimenti non avrebbe dato al suo popolo la Palestina come terra promessa. Federico II di Svevia.
Puglia, a breathtakingly gorgeous region located at the heel of Italy's boot, and by far the most impressive and enchanting. Puglia holds her secrets quietly in her hands, concealing roughly 800 kilometers of Adriatic and Ionian coastlines. Amid spans of olive groves, big trees, fresh seafood, farm-to-table freshness, and cheeses that could easily turn up noses toward the north, Puglia has me enchanted. Walking along these narrow corridors and sleepy towns, I'm reminded that I'm not just in Italy. I'm surrounded by whispers of Greece, the Balkans, Turkey, and North Africa. Puglia was originally settled by Greeks and Spartan exiles in the 8th century BCE, and then the Romans upon completion of Via Appia in 120 BCE, and is known to be the breadbasket of Italy. Puglia is home to unique fruity wines, breads, delicious cheeses, and savory pastas and seafood dishes like tiella or Italian paella. The first thing that you do when you find a gem, a piece of heaven on earth, is fight the desire to keep it to yourself. And Puglia was definitely one of those places. Talking about this trip is way overdue, but I feel necessary as we propel into the B-side of 2020. That sounds ominous as fuck. I thought it was time for a more feel-good episode. This was the beginning of our Italian road trip a few years ago. I know, you've read Eat, Pray, Love and Under the Tuscan Sun, or at least binge-watched it with a pint of Haagen-Dazs. But this is different. Landscape beautifully decorated with trulli, medieval pointed stone dwellings that are scattered throughout the region, peeking out from olive groves and quiet village roads, lulled us into a state of paradise, and then we got lost. Scrambling for a map in the 10-passenger van that Alex is driving, the 6 of us and a dog, our phone's GPS stopped working. An hour had passed and it seemed like we were going in circles on dusty one-lane roads that were really meant to be 2 lanes for tiny cars. Alex began searching for anyone standing outside of their homes to ask for directions. Alright, so we were lost in Puglia, and we didn't have GPS, we didn't have anything that was really working, so while I was looking for the grid coordinates on our itinerary, Daddy pulls up to this old lady's house, and what does she say?
So she's like sweeping her porch or whatever, and she's like, okay, so you're gonna go straight, and then you're gonna see Maria's farm, and she has 5 chickens, and they're all really vicious, so don't pet the chickens. Then you're gonna take a left, and there you're gonna see Claudio. He has really good mozzarella, so try some of his mozzarella. Then you're gonna take a right, go around the roundabout, go back to where you came from, take another left, and then another right, and then you'll probably see the driveway to your house.
Meanwhile, I started rifling through pages of printouts of our itinerary and homestay confirmation looking for an address. There wasn't one for our little trullo in the middle of the largest olive grove I have ever seen in my life. But then I found grid coordinates, put on my Army NCO thinking cap, and led my former Italian officer and our family back directly to our home away from home sitting outside of the little town of Ceglie Messapica. Upon arrival, we were greeted by the homestay hosts and a basket of taralli, along with local wine, bread, and cheese. Weary from the nearly 7-hour trip by now thanks to the detour, we gladly grounded our bags and began exploring the trullo. The host had mentioned just before leaving that we ought to check out a quaint little restaurant that they loved, located in the heart of Masseria. None of us, neither Alex nor my mother-in-law, had ever been to Puglia, let alone to Masseria. We arrived in town to discover a whitewashed village that looked straight out of a Bertolucci film, as a band played in the distance and summer celebration was in full swing. It was also delightfully apparent that no one around us seemed to be a tourist. We were surrounded by locals sitting in cafes and wandering through the square arm in arm in this beautiful evening. Chivas, the recommended restaurant, was found sitting quietly around the corner in a sleepy walkway in Masseria. However, upon entry, I noticed something. Michelin stars. I thought, oh shit, they're not gonna let us in here with kids and a dog. My mother-in-law's feisty little dachshund was for sure gonna be grounds for not letting us in. But the staff at Chivas didn't even flinch, and escorted us happily to a table that was enshrined in whitewashed cavernous walls that felt more Greek than Italian. Our server came by and introduced us to the tasting menu and fresh olive oil from its family's olive grove. Did I mention olives are a big deal here? And no lie, it was some of the best tasting olive oil I ever had in my life. The texture, the aftertaste, and how it complemented the fresh local bread. These people weren't out here fucking around. Farm to table from their own yards and deserving all of the Michelin accolades, it was unpretentious, authentic, and some of the most amazing food I had to date, as a whole, in Italy. Just down the road from Martrullo was a little farm called Masseria Cepunisi that had a wonderful assortment of fresh cheeses, taralli, and more. We brought back this assortment to Artrullo and commenced another memorable meal outside, sharing fresh ricotta cheese, local honey, and regional wine with a nice hint of crisp pear and apple. Considering the food we've experienced in this region, from Michelin stars to local agroturismo sites, it seemed that even a few years ago, pre-pandemic, that developing intimate culinary tourism experiences just made sense. Altering people's perspective on gastronomic experiences in any destination country and discovering how much more satisfying authentic local gems are. Crowded group tours through Rome seem nightmarish, especially after experiencing Puglia this way. Rural and less populated areas like Puglia might not have been taken seriously in the context of global economy, but now there seems to be a growing understanding that these cultural gems are more than capable of contributing to future development. Although places like this are at a distance from larger metropolitan and financial centers, smaller and more personal small group travel kinda seems like the way to go after 2020 just handed us a giant shit sandwich. Agro-based tourism, wine country trips, curated biodiversity, regional heritage sites, Instagrammable gastronomy, the arts, and local artisan work really make places like Puglia special and worth visiting again. Here lies a blueprint that should be duplicated elsewhere. As I write this during current COVID-19 lockdown, and as the world is reimagining current broken systems, the hospitality and tourism industry, like many other industries all over the world, are hurting. And if we're to reimagine tourism, shouldn't it come with out-of-this-world food and travel experiences that are safer, greener, and sustainable? In the morning, we spent time at Pilone Beach outside of Ostuni, where the wind was relentless and made for some rough waters, which I hear is not very typical of every beach in the region. Nonetheless, it was gorgeous. The sun scorched the beach, but it was offset by a cool breeze powering across the Adriatic from the Balkans. Later in the evening after our beach date, we linked up with friends of Alex, Edu and Silvana, another lovely couple we've come to know and adore who live in Milan. We rode in a little car known as an ape, which feels like a motorcycle with a raincoat, to an incredible restaurant on the coast of Polignano a Mare called Da Tucino. We had dinner here for 8 people, and despite having restless kiddos, the waitstaff was accommodating and kind. You'll find this as a common occurrence in Italy. In the US, especially with upscale and/or popular restaurants, people will look at you bringing in a family with small children and look at you with an unmistakable glare of death. Here, the sentiment is simple. Eat, relax, and be happy. The food and service don't adjust for class or age or any petty, bigoted bullshit. It's just excellent, all the time. All the dishes we ordered were fantastic. From my langoustine with uni ragu on paccheri pasta to squid ink pasta for others, everything was served with a sense of artistry and respect for local ingredients. The view from our table of the Adriatic Sea topped this experience off as a must-see for travelers and locals alike wandering through Puglia. After dinner, the apes lit up neon green and we flew down the streets well-fed and slightly inebriated as our driver made small talk and narrated local history. Why can't life always be this way? Where am I? Did I stumble upon an Armani ad? I think this to myself as Alex and I arrive at Eleonora and Alberto's wedding at Masseria SAN. This thoughtfully converted farmhouse now serves as a gorgeous boutique hotel and is a growing trend in this agriculturally rich region that sits quietly on the Adriatic Sea. The real reason we ventured into Puglia was to attend this wedding. Adriatic and Ele, a delightful couple I had only previously met on one of their trips to Las Vegas, invited us, and while it was initially a trek for us from Las Vegas, we were more than happy to turn it into an Italian road trip. Albi, the groom, and Alex have been buddies since attending university together in Puglia, outside of Milan. Their matched and often macabre sense of humor doesn't seem to faze Ele, the charming recruiter from Emilia-Romagna. They're adorable, and their wedding celebration mirrored everything we've come to know about them. Albi and Ele's wedding reminded us at the end of our stay in Puglia that life is worth savoring, that it's important to slow down, smell the flowers, try the local honey, and sit in an olive grove and listen to the cicadas as the sun beats down upon the coast in this magnificent region. Puglia is a siren call. And after working and commuting long days in Las Vegas, I in social work at a federal hospital and Alex in a hotel off the Las Vegas Strip, maybe Puglia is what we needed after all. A reminder to stop and enjoy beauty that's all around. To stop taking shit so seriously and try this burrata instead. Puglia and this wonderful leg of our Italian road trip was unforgettable, and an important reminder of the warmth, good food, and loving friends we all need in our lives.